What's up, guys? Brandon Emmett back again, making our second video for the page. As promised, we're going to go over a little bit of lure selection for casting for silver salmon, either from a boat or from the rocks there at Allison Point. Really, you only need a few lures to be successful casting for silvers, and we're going to go over those today. And we're going to go over a little bit of retrieve speed, and I'll teach you guys a knot for tying on your terminal tackle. So, first lure of the day, we got a 7/8 ounce Mepps Flying C inline spinner. It's got a silver blade and a chartreuse body. This lure also comes in hot pink, which is a really productive color as well. What I like about the Mepps Flying C is that it's heavy, it casts far, and runs deep. And so this is a great lure to use at high tide, and when there's pinks in there, whatever, and the silvers just go crazy for it. You can huck it way out there, and you can get under those pink salmon. Sometimes it has a little bit of a tendency to get on the rocks, especially on a good slow retrieve. When it comes to retrieve speed, I found out for silvers, generally slower is better. The slowest that you can reel without losing all of your lures to the bottom, the better. So Mepps Flying C, 7/8 ounce, chartreuse, hot pink, can't go wrong, especially at high tide or fishing from a boat. It's probably my second favorite lure here. This is a number 6 Blue Fox Vibrax in hot pink. I like this in both hot pink and chartreuse. And the number 6 seems like it might be a little oversized, but the silvers just go crazy for it, especially when you're fishing close to the harbor. The water there is really glaciated. The visibility is low. This thing puts out a lot of vibration, a lot of flash, really lets the fish know that it's there. It can be retrieved really slow. Again, I really like the Vibrax at low tide because it doesn't run very deep. It only runs 2 or 3 feet. And so you can retrieve it nice and slow and not worry about getting hung up on the rocks as well. I also like this lure in number 5 right here. So on my closed face setup here, I got a number 5 in chartreuse. This one's seen some action, and I think this is a lure from last season. You can actually see it's got a couple little marks from salmon teeth, the rocks, or maybe my buddy dragging it across the side of the boat one too many times. But this number 5 Vibrax, this is a really solid lure. Can't go wrong. Again, great for low tide, and when the salmon are really up on the top, you see a lot of jumpers. The Vibrax will sometimes outproduce the Flying C. And then I would be remiss if I did not show you guys, Alaska's most famous lure. This is a Blue Fox Pixie in light pink. If I was stranded on a northern island somewhere or dropped off in the Alaska wilderness and I only had one lure, it would be this one. It's not as productive as the Vibrax and as the Flying C most of the time, but sometimes this is all the silvers want. They're cheap, they're easy to cast. This is a great lure to set your kids up with. In fact, I got some buddies that have been out fishing with that just they seem to catch more rocks, trees, other fishermen, side of the boat than anything else. And so if someone loses too many of these, they get put on Pixie probation, and they only get to use Pixies until they're not snagging up or getting backlashes or they get some sleep or something. But you can't go wrong with the pink Blue Fox Flying Sea solid lure. Probably the #1 lure for pink salmon. This works great for king salmon as well. And it's just a solid all-around lure. I like it in green as well. I always have a few of these around. Sometimes I've seen this green Pixie outperform anything else. And again, low and slow is the name of the game. Is slowly as you can reel in, as deep as you can get the lure to run without snagging is going to put a lot more fish in the boat. Surprisingly, silvers have a tendency to bite softly. You always get those ones that just jump on the rod and it's gangbusters, but a lot of times it's just a little tap. And so if you reel in nice and slow, you can feel those little taps. So anytime you feel something that's just a little tug, go ahead and set that hook, and you'll be surprised. So those are some solid lures. You could fish all season from shore or from a boat closer to the shore in Valdez with just these lures right here, and that's all you would need in your tackle box. Speaking of that, so speaking of tackle boxes, so I have a ton of tackle boxes. I've found they have a tendency to collect water, and so what I've started doing is for all of my fresh lures, I just keep them in bags. Keep the bags in a dry bag. Basically, fish out of the plastic bag. They keep the water out, and you can have fresh lures on hand. And then I'll keep a tackle box around for after I've used a lure a handful of times. I'll put it in the tackle box and then toss it back. But I try to use a new lure if I can. Try to keep my lures clean. A good tip is to carry a little thing of hand soap with you, or Dawn dish soap, and wash your hands and your lures often, especially if you've had chicken or you've been, messing with your grease in your reel or something like that. I've noticed that really helps. So, yeah, I probably have too many lures, but got just bags and bags of these. Bag of lures, throw in your dry bag, good to go. So when it comes to attaching the lure, I'll show you guys a knot. Again, this is my braided main line and fluorocarbon leader setup that I showed you guys in the previous video. You can go back and watch that if you haven't seen that one. But I'm gonna show you guys a really solid knot for attaching your line to your lure. This works with braid, mono, fluorocarbon, pretty much anything. And it's called the Trilene knot. It was invented by the Berkeley company specifically for tying trilene monofilament. It's supposed to be 99% breaking strength. I've never really tested that with the scale, but if tied right, it's an awesome knot. Can't go wrong. So, the way you tie this knot, you take your lure, you're going to pass your line through the lure once, and then you're going to bring it back, and you're going to pass it through again. All right. Oh, I missed. There we go. Second time. So you end up with this little loop. So then I'm going to, nice and slow, I'm going to pull my loop down to where I just got a little bit left to work with. Again, this is my main line. Here's my loop around the eye of the lure, and this is my tag line. And then so I'm going to take the tag line and I'm going to loop it around the main line 5 times. You end up with something that looks like that. See, now you have 2 loops. So here's the tricky part. There's something about a rabbit going through a hole or something. So take your tag end, you put it through both loops, okay? And then you'll have this third big loop, and then you put it around through that big loop. And so you got this contraption that looks like that. So it takes, takes a couple times to tie in it, but this knot doesn't over cinch and it's super strong. Now, again, you need to make sure that your line's wet. If it's raining, you're good. If not, a little bit of spit on there. And then I just start slowly working this thing down, because it can come undone on you, right? So just nice and slow, work it down, until oh, rod fell down. There we go. You notice I worked that down nice and slow. If you take, this is one thing about tying this knot, is that if you just yank on it right away, it'll twist and it'll wrap around the eye and it'll get messed up. So it takes a little bit of practice, but it's super strong and it's a thick knot. It really holds onto the lure well, and it resists abrasion. Again, you got rocks, you got silly fishermen, you got sharp teeth. So then center down, use my teeth like the dentist told me not to, and then bam, trilene knot. Trim your tag. You can always leave a little bit more tag. You leave about 2 millimeters of tag until you get that first fish, and that first fish will really cinch the knot for you. And then after that, you can go down, you can take it off, take it down to 1 millimeter of tag. But this knot will be good for, probably 4 or 5 fish before you have to retie. So there's some lures that you guys can use. There's a knot, tight lines.